What are you watching out for from the meeting today, given that there are no expectations of any change to policy, but potentially a downgrade to the outlook?
Well, with elections pending, the Bank of Japan is certainly not tinkering with anything big in terms of monetary policy. They are discussing the supply chain disruptions in Southeast Asia and its impact, the slowdown in exports. These were the driving engines of the economy during the second quarter. The third quarter is much weaker, frustratingly weaker, because the Olympics, mostly being digital, didn't provide much to sentiment. Exports are slowing. So this will be in there. I doubt that the Bank of Japan will downgrade the outlook from recovery trend to anything lower by that, because the fourth quarter might be much stronger.
It's the tinkering around the fiscal framework that's most interesting, right? Particularly as it's been indicated that whoever the next leader will be, they'll be seeking that support from the Bank of Japan.
Yes, Mr. Kuroda has already pointed out that he will be, and the Bank of Japan will be supportive, basically, of any fiscal policy coming out. Now, what everybody is looking at, in particular investors, is, well, will the next prime minister, will policy focus on productivity, on some structural reforms that are supportive for growth? And this is where the Bank of Japan is coming in as well. It will probably point out a few more of the measures in the green finance facility, which subsidizes banks for green loans. These are indicators that are supportive in a mild way when going forward.
Taro Kono seems to be the favorite by the public and also by foreign investors. Does that change the dynamics of, I don't know, the Japanese economy, the markets, or even affect BOJ policy at all?
Well, the economy is not in such a bad shape. The Bank of Japan and the government were tremendously supportive throughout last year, well into this year. There are still fiscal packages sitting there, not being spent. So, and consumers are tired of lockdowns. The last emergency will end on September 30. They are already spending. Supply chain issues can be overcome by next year. So it is now about sentiment. The Olympics didn't do the trick. Now it is really back in the policy arena, and Mr. Kono is promising the most in terms of a kind of rejuvenation, in terms of getting some structural policies rolling.
Do any of the candidates make a difference for Governor Haruhiko Kuroda himself?
Not so much. Basically, their fiscal plans, their spending, their supportive plans in terms of finance will remain the same. The outlook will remain the same. It is just where the spending is going. If it goes more into security, more in terms of income rebalancing between the city centers and the regions, or more into structural reforms, more into green growth. The Bank of Japan, demanding structural reforms for decades, will probably more happy and more supportive for some more structural policies.
Martin, also, what will the BOJ be watching as we get the Fed policy decision as well? What's important to them?
Well, the Bank of Japan is, in terms of the exchange rate, in terms of their policy, not in a bad position. There is tapering overseas, in particular with the Fed getting more under pressure with the supply side shocks. That is a concern for the Bank of Japan itself. It is tapering on the quantitative side, but it remains supportive on the fiscal side. This balance keeps the yen pretty weak compared to where it could be. That is a very, very good policy mix also for corporations in the current situation.